All right, Geek Outings today coming to you. Two lifelong friends talking about geeky things because that's just what we do. We lost two, and I'm not talking about Kobe and Gianna.
Ooh, that's a little depressing.
Is it?
That's way depressing.
Can I not open with that?
You open however you want to open.
They had but I mean, is it inappropriate? The memorial was today.
I didn't watch the memorial, and it's never inappropriate to memorialize somebody that made an impact in our lives. But it's still a little on the sad side. This episode brought to you by Ham and Cheese Hot Pockets.
Damn.
I've tried many other flavors, but I always come back to Ham and Cheese Hot Pockets.
You know what? Back in the day, they should have made like a latchkey kid display.
Yeah.
You had the frozen one, juices, all that stuff. Capri Suns.
Otter Pops.
Oh, my God.
Frozen burger patties.
There's your commercial.
Tito's frozen pizza.
Oh, man. I used to like those French bread, those Stouffer's bread.
Oh, the French bread ones, yeah.
Stouffer's, right?
Stouffer's French bread pizza.
All day, man. I still eat some of those.
Oh, yeah.
And those lasagnas. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, no, I'm all about it.
All right. Today, Geek Out Tap, bringing you the history of the Clone Wars cartoon since the new episode just came out recently. We are two lifelong friends. Don't do the math. It's just talking about geeky things. That's just because what we do today, I guess. Not all the time for all of us. Lucy?
Hey, Rob, Lucy coming at you from Southern Oregon. Happy to be here with Ed. Missing our two other friends, but it's nice. Ed and I are the most recently caught up on Clone Wars. I've been binging it for about the last 2 weeks or so. Seasons 5 and 6. And looking forward to bouncing my opinions off of my buddy Ed here. So let's get right into it.
So before we even start kind of delving into the history and everything, how much do you think you had to watch the old Clone Wars cartoon to really get what's going on in this Clone Wars new season, if you've only watched the movies and not a lot of Clone Wars? Because I assume that's a lot of people.
No, I was glad I caught up on season 5 and 6 in particular. Without getting into season 7, at this point in time, at the end of season 6, Yoda sees that the cause is lost. He even talks to the rest of the Jedi Council. Hey, this battle is lost. The dark side they got us.
Well, and I think he says that you can never win war. That's what it is, right?
Well, you can never win a war, but that's I guess his way of capitulating to them royally screwing up for the last couple years and letting it get as far as it did.
Yeah, they're hubris.
Yeah, through hubris, exactly. And I had mentioned that earlier today in a couple of text messages, and I thought that was poignant that Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi would use that same terminology, like, light side, dark side. There is, if there's a light side and dark, can we just have no side?
Yeah, the gray Jedi you're talking about.
Yeah, the middle path. In Star Wars Rebels, I can't remember the creature's name, but the lion/griffin.
The thing that came out of the earth?
Right. That
kind of he definitely swung both ways, and it wasn't good or evil.
Well, that was his point. He's like, I'm not light, I'm not dark, I am just, I'm a creature of the Force.
Yeah.
I'm part of the Force, as much as you are, and even more powerful in many ways than using just the light side or the dark side. And he was even confused as to why there was a light and a dark side, if memory recalls correctly.
You know about the original Force users, the Jedi?
I don't know. I don't have a lot of information on the Jedi.
Oh man, you sound like Bobby now. So the Jedi were just like, I don't know, some mystics or people from certain places that just kind of understood things, and I don't know how they ended up forming like a little cult or religion or whatever, but there was no good or bad side. And it wasn't until people started interpreting whatever they were learning in different ways, and then it kind of just split, and then that's it. But there is no good or bad. It's all subjective. So.
Yeah, exactly. It is subjective because the force flow, if you to believe everything, the force flows through everything. It's how you choose to manipulate the force that makes you either good light side Jedi, which I have my opinion on that after again rewatching the Clone Wars, or straight up evil, the Sith.
Well, I think one of the things when you watch this series is that you realize the Jedi are not these knights in shining armor like they are portrayed in the movies. And then in the movies, the Sith are portrayed as these evil entities that are just trying to like fuck shit up, that have no comprehension of like anything else. And I think this series kind of shines a light on the Sith not being necessarily an evil cult or whatever, except for Palpatine, of course. And then the Jedi are not really these altruistic beacons of hope and light in the galaxy like they are in the movies.
No, certainly, followers of Palpatine or Darth Sidious, they're looking for more order than they are. They want order in the galaxy. So the people that follow them, go back to like the first emperor of China. Like everybody that was against him would say he was evil, but in the end, he just united everybody. He had to crush some skulls to get there. And I think that's how a lot of the people, separatists and or the empire, look at things. We're looking for more order. We're looking for more control. We can look at some current analogies in our own current political climate.
I feel like you're doing a commercial because you're wearing that hat.
Okay, so the hat, dope, right?
It was perfect. All empire, all day.
All empire, all day. So yeah. So my point on, especially the Clone Wars, I really want to get this out there. I've talked to a few people about it. May have talked to you about it before, but the Jedi go back and they figure, oh, okay, we're creating this clone army to fight a droid army. The clones are feeling, emotional creatures, basically people, but they're slaves to war. Like you're born, bred to fight, but they create friendships, going into season 5 and 6, like, oh, that's my friend. Like, and he was defective. Now am I defective? And then the Jedi, I can't remember her name, takes them to the clone planet and is basically like, well, you might be defective too, so we're going to cut your brain open and figure out what's wrong with you.
Oh, that's a damn good point.
And then, hey, whatever happens after that happens, Moral ambiguity. Like, I
would call them war goggles. You've had beer goggles before. It's kind of similar. But they don't even really, because once you get to the end of the series and they start looking for Sifo-Dyas, they didn't even care what happened to him. That motherfucker just disappeared, and he was on the council. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they didn't even care until later when they're like,
that programmed him. And like,
yeah, and then they're like, oh, what's going on?
Well.
Like, well, he's the one that like signed up for this, and like Obi-Wan knew that. They knew that. The council knew that, but they didn't act on it. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Even after they found out about the defect, they still refused to act on it. Yeah. Which again, not getting into season 7, you're looking. This is probably a really short period from the end of season 6 to before Order 66 gets initiated, and they're finding out more things.
You know what it is? It's the Catholic Church finding out about like child molesters in one of their churches, and they're like, oh, no.
We're going to have to sweep this under the rug.
Yeah, we'll sweep it under the rug, and we're not going to talk about it.
Ride it out as long as we can ride it out.
No need to investigate.
Yeah, no need to investigate any further.
No, it's all good.
And the other, especially in season, I guess it's the beginning of season 6, going from the end of season 5, where the bombing at the Jedi Temple, they send Ahsoka and Anakin to investigate it. They find out who did it. That person gets thrown in jail, and then Ahsoka gets completely set up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's...
And then they boot her from the Jedi Order. They have a meeting and they're like, we got the admiral's like, you got to kick her out of the Jedi Order so we can prosecute her. And they're like, okay. Like, we kind of came to a decision. It was a split decision, but yeah, we're kicking her out of the Jedi Order. And their answer to that at the end was, it was the Force testing you. And now you're coming out a stronger Jedi than when you went in before. Not even an apology. Not even, I'm sorry, we were really wrong on this one.
Once again, that's the Catholic Church and a priest saying God was testing you.
Yeah,
sorry. We're sorry for what happened to you, but you're a strong person. God tested you, and now you have the keys to heaven. You know what I mean? Like,
dude, I've rewatched that. I remember watching it the first time I rewatched it. I just started getting a little angry at the Jedi. I'm like, how are you gonna do Ahsoka like that?
For sure. It's part of their hubris.
It didn't just like spit in her face like that was the Force. Like, God's will. God works in mysterious ways. The Force works in mysterious ways, testing you. And I love her for this. She's like, thanks, but no thanks. I'm out.
No.
I'm going my own way.
She's Anakin if he didn't go to the dark side.
Right. And I think my other thing to this, I think because that was his Padawan, Ahsoka had as much influence or close to as much influence in Anakin's life as Padme. Padme. Because she looks him in the face and she's like, Anakin says, the Jedi Order is all you've ever known, all we've ever known. How could you leave? And she's like, I'm leaving. That is a lot of the impetus of why, like, hey, if she's leaving the Order, like I'm leaving the Order too. And he takes it a step further by going to the dark side. But and the other thing that pisses me, how could they have not seen Anakin like changing over to the dark side more? Because he shows us so much more emotion.
If they couldn't see the Emperor for what he was, but they always knew he was shady, but they just associated it with politics. You know what I mean? Because like, especially in that last season, they're like, "Oh, you want to talk to the Chancellor? What happened?" And Yoda would be like, the usual, not much." And like, "Oh, do you want to pursue it?" And they're like, "Well, not at this time because it's not like serious enough." You know what I mean? But like, I know since we're not going to be chronological with this, we just talk about things that we liked about the series that stood out. The very end, when Yoda goes to the Sith planet and the Sith start talking to him.
Oh, yes, the original.
And that's where I think you really see what's going on with the Jedi, that they are caught up in the throes of war. And when you are in war, you start like embracing the glory of war and the power of war. And they don't, and they're not protectors of the good anymore. Now they're generals and sergeants and, killers. They're warriors now. And when the Sith are like tempting him, they're like, "You like power? You're in the war, and like the war's been going on forever. You're not stopping it." And like the way that they're talking to him, you realize that's why the Jedi fell, because, and he says it, I think in the last episode or second to last episode of season 6, that the dark side, they're tainted by the dark side. They all got fucking dirtied. Their hands all got dirtied by the dark side, and so now what's the rule? Once the dark side is in your path, forever your destiny it controls. Once that's your chosen path, which is bullshit too, by the way.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Mace Windu used fucking dark side techniques in his lightsaber fighting, and he could hold his dark side at bay. He is the most powerful Jedi, granted, but don't say that it can't.
You think Mace Windu is the most powerful Jedi?
That's how he's listed. The most powerful on the council. Yoda is the most wise.
Oh, interesting.
So that way you have strength and wisdom.
Well,
and also no females.
No, there's a couple on there.
Yeah, but not anyone that does any talking.
Yeah. I mean, they're
protecting the temples and shit. Granted, they do protect that temple where all the fuck are they called? The stones that power the lightsabers.
Kyber crystals.
The Kyber crystals, like they protect that whole fucking like cave and shit. And even have you seen the Clone Wars, like the ones that were on Cartoon Network, the little 5-minute ones, the Samurai Jack? The guy that did Samurai Jack did them.
Oh, the shorts?
Yeah.
I've seen them, but I don't recall them. It's been a while.
Well, there's one in the second season where it's just on Ilum is the name of the planet. They mention it in Rebels. But they all they do is protect those crystals, and they are fucking badass. 2 chins.
Well, the kyber crystals are on multiple planets.
Well, they have one temple in Ilum. They have a bunch of them.
Oh, there was that really dope episode in Rebels where there's that giant kyber crystal that they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they were using that
For the Death Star, right?
to power the Death Star. They needed something to focus the energy to power the Death Star.
I didn't know the Death Star was powered by a kyber crystal. I'm going to be honest.
No, that's new to. I think that's definitely new to.
Oh, so that added to it.
You know, I hadn't heard it before, but it makes sense. You know, well, as much as a cartoon can make sense.
The reason that the Sith have red lightsabers is because they make artificial kyber crystals that only glow red.
No, I disagree because they go.
That's what I thought it was. I don't know. I might be wrong.
There's a point in how they talk about it. They have to take a kyber crystal and infect it with the dark side. They have to somehow break it.
Or they pervert, or they do something to it. It's not like it's just a natural kyber crystal.
It's not a natural kyber crystal.
But so my point is for them to take a natural kyber crystal and turn it into a Death Star planet-destroying, force-killing weapon is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Why don't they talk about that? Goddamn. That way Bobby could know.
Has Bobby seen Rebels that you know of?
I don't know if Bobby's seen episode 3 at this point. He was acting really weird.
No, Bobby's seen, you mean episode 3 of, no, episode 3 the movie?
Yes.
Revenge of the Sith?
Yes. I question it. I call it into question today. He was getting
I'm sure he's seen it. He may have forgotten it because it was so long ago.
I mean, I'll agree to disagree on that.
Strotter has not seen episode 9, if you want to call it episode 9, Rise of Skywalker.
You know what? I rewatched it lately on streaming. I think it's going to end up being, it's funny because the third movie, so it's my least favorite. I like Jedi, and this one was kind of my least favorite, but I think the more I watch it, it's going to grow on me like Jedi. Like, I'll fast forward to certain parts in Jedi, especially like, you know, I'm a Jedi like my father before me. When he first turns himself into Vader, that's pretty dope. The whole intro on Tatooine is awesome. You know what I mean? There's just a lot of like.
Return of the Jedi, he just rolls up on the ship. He's like, I'm here to see my dad.
When he rolls into Jabba's place, just choking fools out in the all black. I mean, there's like at least 30 minutes in the beginning of that movie that you cannot fast forward through. I don't care when you put it on in that 30 minutes. You're gonna see it through until they take R2 and C-3PO out of the sand and fly away, and then you can change it.
Okay. I'm gonna. You've reminded me of a couple points I wanted to make about the sorry ass Jedi. Number one, in a lot of ways, they respect droids more than they respect their clone warriors. They respect R2-D2 and C-3PO, and they have a little bit more empathy for a lot of their droids, where they'll just make, you know, they'll make clones and, you know, wave upon wave against the droids. The other thing was, it was really shady of Obi-Wan Kenobi to set Luke up to fight his father without ever telling him, you're about to fight your father. I mean, like, the dopest line in, you know, movie, you know, top 5 lines in movies is Luke, I am your father. So he drops that on him, and it's a surprise to everybody. But that's kind of shady that Obi-Wan.
Okay, hold on. I can almost kind of explain that. You know, left field fucking Hail Mary pass with theory. But since Obi-Wan is the last of those Jedi from the fucking tainted by the dark side, you know, corrupted by power Jedi, him twisting the truth to his own, you know, benefit or safety or comfort kind of makes sense because he's still one of those guys that fucked everything up in the Old Republic.
Yeah, it wasn't a cool thing to do. Very manipulative.
Yoda wasn't any better.
Yoda's just as guilty. And Yoda's like, well, he's not. Yeah, hell yeah, he's not ready.
But I'm saying they knew they were guilty before, and now they're just like, can't help it. They're just like, you know, They've been like assholes for so long now.
Yeah, they've been like, oh, we got somebody else to manipulate now.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want to tell him the truth because if we tell him the truth, he might walk the other way.
Interesting.
Basically, that's what it comes down to. It's like if they told Luke the truth, Luke is like, hey, I'm not on board for this.
Sure.
So the only way for them to be able to train him to fight his own father was to lie to him. But again, that's my point about how shady the Jedi had become at that point in time.
Yeah,
they're willing to swoop a guy off Tatooine, a back-ass-words planet, and train him as a Jedi to go heads up against his own dad.
and then also as I think we mentioned in something else, they're not adverse to just grabbing children and indoctrinating them in their way.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Yeah, we talked about that like that. Like, oh, we got to start him young. Jedi Yoda's like, he's too old. Too old he is to start Jedi training.
That's how the Nazis did it. That's how.
What's him young?
Have you seen Jojo Rabbit?
No.
Okay. Well, that's all about indoctrination of young children in the Nazi camp. Oh, it's amazing. It's hilarious. Shout out to Woolsey. Oh, it's fucking weird, bro. It's funny though. It's funny. Have a little wine, smoke a bowl, watch it. You will smile, you will laugh, you'll get a little mad, and then you might even cry. Some people cry. I got a little teared up at the end.
Oh.
Yeah. Woolsey loves it. Woolsey recommended it multiple times.
We'll see.
Sorry. I drifted right there. But earlier you mentioned the droid thing, and I think you make a great point that the droids are always second-class citizens in all of these movies, right? We don't serve their kind here. Get those droids out of here. They're like the bottom-tier people, and the fact that you notice that the Jedi treat them with more like respect for their spirit, their person or whatever, than they do the clones is fucking amazing, spot on. It's also kind of leads into what this new season is going to be about. It seems like.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into it, but one of the lines from the new season was, they talk about the Bad Batch. Yeah, so this is a group of clones with beneficial mutations. What do you think they do with the clones with unbeneficial mutations? We'll save that for the next episode. Rob, Lucy, cutting out from Southern Oregon. Geek Outings, once again. Look forward to our next show. Like, comics, subscribe.
Nice. Editor, San Antonio closing out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, any of the above. A, B, C, D, or D. All the above.